So was you and X issue actually over her?
Totally.
Oh, so X was messing with her when y'all together?
Totally.
Damn.
And I got offended. Yeah, I did.
That was your girl.
I got offended at both of them.
Men fighting over women isn't anything new, so it probably isn't too surprising to hear that it happens in hip-hop as well. You see the title, let's get into it. Earl Simmons, aka DMX from Yonkers, New York, is known for his record-breaking first two albums, which both released in 1998. His rap career goes back years prior to that, however. In the mid-80s, he started with the rapper Reddy Ron, who he would say was like an older brother to him. Ron would rap and DMX would beatbox. DMX then decided to start rapping himself, taking on the name DMX from the name of the Oberheim drum machine people would use for making beats. In 1991, he was featured in the unsigned hype column of The Source magazine. He also signed to the newly formed record label and management company Rough Riders Entertainment, founded by the siblings Joaquin aka Wah, Darren aka D, and Siobhan Dean. Then he signed to Columbia Records subsidiary label Rough House Records and released his debut single, Born Loser, which failed to chart and got him removed from the label. He then signed in 1997 to Def Jam with help from Irv Gotti and released those two albums I mentioned, It's Dark and Hell is Hot and Flesh of My Flesh, Blood of My Blood, which propelled him into extreme popularity after years of going unnoticed. I guess that goes to show, don't give up on your goals, am I right? On the other hand, we have Ricardo Emmanuel Brown, aka Kurupt from Philadelphia, who moved to California as a teen and started his rap career with a bang as he was signed to Death Row Records in 1992 and featured on Dr. Dre's solo debut album, The Chronic, on the songs Lyrical Gangbang, Stranded on Death Row, and Bitches Ain't Shit. Then he was featured on Snoop Dogg's debut album, Doggy Style, on multiple songs as well. Then in 1995, he and Daz Dillinger released their debut album, Dog Food, as The Dog Pound. Shortly after this, Kurupt wound up leaving Death Row. Then in 1998, he released his solo debut album, Corruption, which was a double disc album and released on his newly found label, Antra Records, which was an imprint under A&M Records. Also in the 90s, the so-called East Coast-West Coast beef was going on, which I've talked about before. At this time, Kurupt was engaged to Brooklyn rapper Foxy Brown, who, like DMX, was also on Def Jam and released her debut album, Il Nana, in November 1996. Foxy Brown allegedly had an affair with DMX, to which of course was not taken lightly by Kurupt, and is what caused things to get heated between Kurupt and DMX. In May 1998, DMX released his debut album, the classic It's Dark and Hell is Hot. Then in December that year, he released Flesh of My Flesh, Blood of My Blood. On that album is the track Bring Your Whole Crew, on which some would say that DMX took a shot at Kurupt. On his second verse, he has the lines, I'm out for blood with the Crips at war, how much shit could you talk with your lips on the floor, pussy niggas make me itch, so I scratch, you's a bitch. Kurupt claimed to be a Crip, so if it was aimed at anyone in particular, it would seem to be Kurupt. However, this is speculation. You let me know if you think this was aimed at Kurupt in the comment section below. In January 1999, Foxy Brown released her second album, China Doll, which features the track A Dog and a Fox featuring DMX, so clearly they spent some time together. According to an interview Kurupt had, the concept for the song came from him, but she chose to do it with DMX instead, which is very telling.
Then she took one of my concepts. We was gonna make a record called The Dog and the Fox.
No.
Yeah.
Wow.
And then she went and did it with Earl. So I was like, oh man, you know what, this is getting outrageous.
Also, Kurupt would state that Nas didn't agree with Foxy being with him and that she should be with someone from New York, which likely didn't help the situation either, as Nas and Foxy Brown were in the rap group The Firm together. That apparently comes from an interview Nas had with XXL magazine.
Then Nas didn't approve of us at first. He got it on XXL, and XXL responded to Foxy and Kurupt, and was like, kind of like, she should be with somebody from New York, so he wasn't really dissing, but he wasn't approval of her being with Kurupt.
Mm-hmm.
After releasing his debut album, Kurupt left A&M Records and got a distribution deal with Artemis Records for his next album. In November 1999, Kurupt released his second album, The Streets Is a Mother, which features the track Calling Out Names, on which Kurupt disses multiple rappers, mainly East Coast rappers including DMX and Foxy Brown. On the first verse, he has the lines, "And I'ma start calling y'all bitch niggas by name. Motherfuck D, motherfuck M, only X I know is Exhibit or RBX. Extraordinary, trying to snatch my bitch, you could have the bitch. Two bitches getting rich, just to come to the West Coast and get stripped down, beat to death, stripped all over a bitch." This of course is aimed at DMX and Foxy because of Foxy's alleged infidelity. Kurupt then goes on in the verse to diss 50 Cent, Ja Rule, and Irv Gotti while saying he has no problem with rappers like Cannabis, Wu-Tang Clan, and Jay-Z. Cannabis and Wu-Tang Clan affiliate Killer Priest at this point were a part of the group The Horsemen along with Kurupt and Razkaz. On the second verse, we get something that's quite noticeable. Kurupt has the lines, "Only thing I like that ride rough is Eve, and all the rest of y'all niggas who ride rough get these." According to Foxy Brown, Eve told Kurupt that DMX and Foxy had an affair, and that's how Kurupt found out. In an interview with Wendy Williams, Foxy would state that DMX had a crush on her maybe, but that she never did anything with him. They were just in Philly together because they were on the same tour.
What about you and Eve? Have you guys patched up? What happened with that?
There was really nothing to patch up. I don't like Eve. I don't like her. It has nothing to do with music. It's something that she did that was very disrespectful a couple years ago.
What did she do, Foxy?
Honestly?
Yes.
No one knows this. But the reason why Kurupt ever found out anything about DMX having a crush or liking me was through her.
Oh.
So I approached her, and she ran from me.
Oh.
Here, point blank. Okay. She ran, and I've never seen after that. And she has made attempts to try to reconcile the situation, but I was like, not my man. You don't bring none of that to my man. I don't care who you trying to bone to get on. That's a legitimate relationship. I have a ring on my finger. Don't ever go to that.
I reported that in Philly though.
Oh, you
that
did?
You and DMX had a thing, and
no, we
Kurupt
didn't.
found out
That was it. Let me clarify
came
that.
on the show and co-signed, right, Artie?
Yeah, Kurupt is also with Suge right now. Please. Let me just be honest and tell you exactly, because I'm being really, really honest right now.
Okay.
No, DMX and I never had anything. What happened was there was a tour called Survival of the Illest, a Def Jam tour, and we were in Philly. I came out to perform with Cormega, who was the opening act. We were at a club together, and being that Foxy Brown and DMX were the two known artists, they were like, shout out to Foxy Brown and DMX in the house, in the same sentence, in Philly.
As I said in the beginning, Kurupt, like Eve, is originally from Philadelphia, so it would make sense that Eve had some kind of contact with him. He then would go on to say F Rough Riders, The Firm, and Belly. Belly being the movie starring Nas and DMX that was released in 1998 and was both rappers' film debut. Also, he has a line in the second verse where he says he's cool with the Locks, which is contradictory from his lines dissing Rough Riders, which is where the Locks was signed. So throughout this track, Kurupt disses Foxy Brown, DMX, The Firm, Rough Riders, Ja Rule, Irv Gotti, and 50 Cent. The song is pretty underrated. I don't often see it mentioned by people when top diss tracks are being talked about. Also on the album is the track Who Ride With Us, on which Kurupt sends shots at DMX on the outro. It's a skit where they imitate radio stations and they make a mention of W Balls, which is the fictional radio station from the Doggy Style album skits that they used to do. The last radio station they turn to is one where there's someone impersonating DMX rapping, which is actually quite funny, followed by Kurupt saying to get that BS off the radio. A violent situation occurred not too long before this album released, however. On October 17th that year, a shooting occurred outside of Echo Sound Studio, which Kurupt was recording for the album at. 3 men were shot, with one of them dying from their injuries. Kurupt's bodyguard, Dwayne Draws Dupree, was killed, while rappers Javon Jones, aka The Realist, and Willard Act the Fool Givers were shot in the foot and leg respectively. Some allege that the shooting was because of Kurupt recording the diss track calling out names. DMX would speak on this in interviews, stating that he had nothing to do with the situation and called the record whack. Shortly afterwards, in December, DMX released his 3rd album, And Then There Was X, which features the hit single Party Up, also known as Up in Here. Throughout the song, DMX is taking shots at people who have gotten on his bad side. On the 2nd verse in particular, he seems to take shots at Kurupt specifically, however. He mentions that it's a rapper he's aiming at, and then has the lines, "Y'all niggas is characters, not even good actors. What's gonna be the outcome? Let's add up all the factors. You whack, you twisted, your girl's a hoe, you broke, the kid ain't yours, and everybody know. Your old man said you stupid. You be like, so, I love my baby mother, I'll never let her go. I'm tired of weak ass niggas whining over puss that don't belong to them. Fuck is wrong with them." Lines like this would appear to be in response to Kurupt for the Calling Out Names track. However, some believe that these lines are instead aimed at Eminem, especially due to the baby mother line, as Eminem often mentioned Kim, the mother of his daughter Haley, in his songs. Of course, the alternative is that he's going at both of them. However, I'd say this was more so aimed at Kurupt given what was going on at the time, as well as the fact that Eminem and DMX worked on the song Go to Sleep, which also features Obi Trice and was released in 2003 on the Cradle to the Grave soundtrack.
2 questions. How are you dealing with the conflict with Kurupt? Second question is that since this is Martin Luther King's holiday today, what does his contribution mean to you?
All right. First of all, there is no conflict with Kurupt. So I'm not dealing with anything.
Foxy Brown herself even made a mention of DMX on a song, as in October 2000, Ludacris released the album Back for the First Time, which features the hit single What's Your Fantasy, and the remix to it, which features Shauna, Trina, and Foxy Brown. On Foxy's verse, she has the lines, "FOX, call me rough sex, especially when a bitch get right on the X. Get it? Right on X. Fuck 'em, check right to the next." The wordplay with X would seem to be pretty clearly admitting that she did have some kind of sexual relationship with DMX. At the least, she's just playing around with the idea. In June 2001, Foxy Brown released her 3rd album, Broken Silence. On the song 730, she dissed Kurupt's new girlfriend, Natina Reed, from the group Black. She mentions Kurupt's heart still belongs to her even though they're not together, and even goes as far as to claim that she got Natina kicked out of the group. That next month, Kurupt released his 3rd solo album, Space Boogie Smoke Odyssey, on which he made a mention of DMX on the track Just Don't Give a Fuck. On his first verse, he has the lines, "Don't say shit about Eminem or Snoop or Dre, feel the fire this way. Yeah, y'all got something to say about me, say it, cause I'm squashing this shit between me and DMX, motherfucker." So clearly he had no interest in continuing the beef by this point. Also on this album is the track It's Over, featuring Natina Reed. The title of the song and the chorus Natina sings, which has her telling someone to move over because it's her turn now, heavily implies that this is a subliminal diss to Foxy Brown now that Kurupt was engaged to Natina instead of her. Then a few years later, in August 2005, Kurupt released his 4th solo album, Against the Grain, which would actually be his first album released on Death Row, as in 2002 he rejoined the label and was also made the vice president. This is also what started his beef with Daz, as Daz had issues with Suge Knight and had left the label himself in 1998 after releasing his own solo debut album. On the song Speak On It on the album, Kurupt again makes mention of DMX. During the intro, he mentions Death Row and states that neither DMX nor Ja Rule nor 50 Cent are the new Tupac, and that Nas isn't the new Biggie. That is a reference to how people used to make comparisons to Tupac and Biggie, 2 of the biggest rappers of the 90s who were murdered in 1996 and 1997 respectively. The beef between Kurupt and DMX had been pretty much quiet for years after that. The two continued on putting out music but weren't mentioning each other. Things between the two were finally resolved, however, in 2017 when they ran into each other at LAX airport. They had a conversation and resolved things almost 20 years later.
Did you and X ever get cool after that?
Indeed.
Okay.
Actually, it was a year ago, and I seen him in the airport, LAX. My brother Hump came over to me and said, "Man, DMX over there." I said, "Where?" He's like, "He's right over there. I'm gonna go tell him you coming to holler at him." I said, "Definitely." He went over there, and then I went to go see him, and we been cool ever since, man.
Yo, it took y'all 20 years?
20 years.
God damn.
Wow.
20 years.
Although the beef had no direct physical altercations, there was still losses that were suffered from those involved. On top of the bodyguard that was killed in 1999, Kurupt's fiance and mother of his child, Natina Reed, passed away on October 26, 2012 due to being hit by a car, and on April 9th, 2021, DMX passed away from a heart attack that was reportedly drug-induced. That next month, DMX's 8th album, Exodus, was released. That's it for the beef between DMX and Kurupt. What are your thoughts on it? There wasn't a lot of diss tracks back and forth. Considering these two rappers and what the beef is over, this could have gone similar to the Nas and Jay beef, where Jay used his relationship with the mother of Nas's daughter to diss him. Personally, DMX is one of my favorite rappers, and Kurupt is probably the best rapper out of the whole dog side of Death Row. So, what are your thoughts on the beef? Do you believe Foxy Brown really didn't do what she was accused of with DMX? Which rapper is your favorite? Let me know in the comment section below. Remember to subscribe to the channel, consider becoming a patron on Patreon or a YouTube channel member, and check the links in the description to follow on other platforms.